It's happening. The Sisters of Battle are finally here.
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Baer from SpikyBits.com, and we are going to dive deep into the Sisters of Battle, a new limited, what I assume to be limited because they said it's a limited print run, army box from Games Workshop that's out Black Friday weekend 2019. So here they are right here. The Sisters of Battle army set is out. G-Dub kept its promise. They said, hey, what was it, back in 2018 at Adepticon, they said, Emperor willing 2019, and here we are, it's 2019 and it's happening. But as you know, as they have said, all of these kits will have a multi-part version out early 2020. The word on the street is February, but anyways, so this army box is $210. I don't know if you can still get them from Miniature Market or diceheadgames.com, but definitely check them out. Those are great places to get your hobbies for less. It's going to come with these 25 miniatures on sprue and an interesting configuration, very much akin to Shadow Spear of how they come on sprue. It's kind of ETB, but it's not push fit. We're going to put some of these together today, and I'm going to show you, but real quick, I just want to go over the estimated value of this box set here. Now remember, these aren't the multi-part kit, but that's okay. We already know the Sisters of Battle main box, the 10 models, when it comes out multi-part, it's going to be $60. GW's, we've already figured that out from their giveaway. They valued it at $60, and that was last year, or that was this year before all their price hikes, but I imagine it'll be about the same because they're going to value them the same as Primaris, same as Chaos Space Marines that we've already seen in the past. The Canoness will probably go for $35. This was the preview figure that they gave out in Nova. This does come in this box set. It may come out separately. It's on a separate sprue. Why not? Maybe not. Maybe this is the only way to get it. Who knows? 5 Seraphim. I imagine we'll see a box of 10 at some point, but I think it's going to be $35 value right here. Sister Repentia at $50 seems to be pretty good because right now there's $60 in metal. And the Penitent Engine, now I'm not sure about this one right here, to be quite honest with you, because the Penitent Engine is on a 50 mil base. And we saw a 60 mil base, what was it, Beast of Nurgle, go for $40 US. So this might be a little high here. It might not be $60, but regardless, we just threw it in there. This is all estimates, of course. Then you got the Arcoflagellants, which seemed to be an early favorite for a lot of people, rules-wise. We're going to take a closer look at them. I'm definitely going to put one of those together and see what size base they're on and such. So that might be about $35. The Codex Sisters of Battle at $50. And then the data cards at $15. We already know those are pretty established prices right there. So if you go by the prices here, you're probably looking at a suggested retail price of, there's a cat and she wants sisters. We're probably looking at a suggested retail value of $400. Now, again, these aren't the multi-part kits, but it's a good way to get the stuff early. And we have his cat here still. She's still here. She is hungry or thirsty. It's really hard to say at this point. Old cats, they just like to talk. So the army price is $210. So your potential savings is $190. Might be more, might be less, either way. But let's talk about this real quick. So when you look at a lot of factors about this box set, as far as value goes, you know, this is a great way to get started with the Sisters of Battle and pick up these models in the ETB configuration. They're not push fit. They're not, we're going to see exactly like how good they are as far as like detail and stuff. We're going to compare them to some of the other models out there and things. But here's the point I want to make. Shadow Spear was the same configuration. It came out with multi-part box sets later on. But keep this in mind. Shadow Spear was $160. If you take $160, you add a Codex price of $40, and you add $15 to it, you roughly get $215. So it's kind of the same price point if you think about it as a sister box. It's just a little bit more expensive, but you get a Codex in it that this is the only way to get that limited edition cover. So it's kind of different. It's bundled more, but it doesn't seem like there's a kind of that early access tax that we saw with the Blood of Phoenix box, with that being $230 for a whole bunch of multi-part kits that hadn't been available yet. So now the question is, just how dope are the minis? And we're going to figure that out here in a second. So this is the box set right here. It's it's pretty well done configuration. That's the reverse corrugated cardboard. It's not shrink wrapped or anything like that, and you can definitely see what you're getting in here. It's all made in the UK. Very upfront about the things and everything you get in here, and you can see the cards in the limited edition book and just a plain white miracle dice right there. And once you slide the tray out right here, which is that kind of plastic insert tray that we've seen with like independent characters and such, and not so maybe like Blackstone Fortress and things, but not so much army boxes. So this is kind of unique, and it's a very cool out-of-box experience here. You get the limited edition Sisters Codex, shrink wrapped with the rules, 40K rules, the quick pamphlet right there. I'll show you that here in a second. The instruction manual and everything that you're going to need. I think there's a little pamphlet and stuff in there, and then the little divider right here to keep the book from getting screwed up by the sprues and stuff. Of course, decals are on top of that, which definitely makes sense. And then you're going to get the sprues, bases, the flight stands or the flying stands, the data cards right here that come left and right stacked, I guess, and shrink wrapped together, and then the miracle dice right there. There is no surprise underneath here. It's just the empty box, so to speak. And then you're going to get the Canoness on sprue, which we've actually already showed that and assembled it from the one that came out in Nova. Two of the same sprue right here. I believe this is sprue B, if I recall correctly from looking at the instruction manual. Two of those right there, and one of sprue A, which is going to have all of the more dynamic, and then these are kind of very much the same, but you just swap heads to make the different looking sisters for the Seraphim, the Battle Sisters. I think two of the Archoflagellants, and probably something else I'm forgetting at this point. First up, we'll take a quick look at the new limited edition Sisters of Battle Codex right here. Now this book is roughly 112 pages, and that's including the tactical objectives at the back there, and you can see it's got a lot of data sheets, sure, and all of the stratagems, warlord traits, your convictions, which are basically like special rules. You've got the orders, and what else is in here? Oh, this is just a section on the painted stuff, and then the bestiary, where we basically just find out more about what's going on and the units and things. There's a lot of fluff pieces in here, and it would take you a decent while to kind of read through the first 60 pages of just like stuff that's happening, and they show you great images of all the painted miniatures, and we haven't seen everything quite yet, and we know there's at least a terrain piece out there, of course. And then you get into like the special rules area at the start of the data sheets, which is right there, and it includes your faiths, sacred rites, special rules and things that you're going to need. And then it gets into some of the newer units that we haven't quite seen yet, like the Triumph of St. Catherine, and what else is in here that we haven't seen yet? Probably the piece of terrain. Oh, there it is, the Battle Sanctum. That also we haven't seen yet. I did want to check out the Exorcist. There's the Exorcist. So what does that do now? Heavy 3d6 shots, strength 5, neg 2, 1 damage. Or it can be the missile launcher at 3d3. Huh, okay. Kind of neat. Alright, well, moving on. And there's the big centerfold picture right there. You've got your orders. Then it gets into the stratagems. And there's actually a lot of stratagems in there. I think it was 18, 8, 24, 32. Just making numbers up until it's right. So at least 30-ish warlord traits, specific order warlord traits right there, and then it gets into the relics themselves and the points values for everything, and that terrain piece is 50 points. It looks like the Triumph of St. Catherine is 185, and Junith is 110 on the Battle Pulpit. Celestine's 160. I actually don't remember what she was, but overall, I think it's very nicely well done. Different cover here. It's got this really striking kind of dark and then light kind of praying motif right here, which is very, very cool. And I guess you'll know everybody that was a early bird day one adopter of the Sisters. Data card wise, it just doesn't come as one big pack. Like I said, it's stacked side by side. One of these is there they are, the Maelstrom objectives, all the tactical objectives right there. So everything you're going to need to play in that format. And then over here is just the normal stratagems, your sacred rites, the universal stratagems, and then they also included prepared positions as well. All of the stratagems, which I don't know how many, but I'm sure somebody can comment below of how many there are there. And then the specific ordos or orders in the back as well for those stratagems too. Oh, and the back art is this, and let's see, what's this one on this? Oh, the candles and the fleur-de-lis. And you can't have new rules without new miniatures. Potato, potato in my book. So taking a look at the instruction manual, there's some interesting takeaways in here, of course. Now you can see there is sprue A, sprue B. Sprue B is the same sprue, just twice, which is half the size of sprue A. So this is your normal small box set. This is kind of like your large kit size sprue. And then you've got the little character cannon S size sprue right here. There's 4 different sets of bases, 150 mil that the penitent engine is going to come on, 1732s, 4 28s, and 3 25s, but you can't guess what these go to. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. This goes to the Arcoflagellants, and these go to the Sisters of Repentia, and everything else gets a 32. So I skipped over the decal sheet, please forgive me, but here you can see what the assembled miniatures are going to look like if you haven't already seen them a million times. But let's talk about the instructions right here. So we've seen this before. I've actually already showed this assembled, and we'll show it to you here again. But then we start getting into the nitty-gritty of the rest of the sets here, and you're going to see that it's just basically front and right halves in a lot of cases, with a random arm pointed in a different direction, a backpack, and some sort of head option. Which kind of definitely makes sense. And then once you start getting into the whole squads, you'll see things like this where you've got the Battle Sister squad, which is 10 models, right? And the 10 models actually consist of the Sister Superior, the Sermaculum, or the Imaginifier, or whatever it's called. And then you're going to get one normal pose that isn't duplicated, with the Flamer one here, and then you're going to get some duplicate poses. So they kind of, give you these, but they're going to be a little bit different because you do the head swap on them. And some of them are just front and right halves with a bolter. Some of them are going to have extra arms and things, but not really for the Battle Sisters right there. And then boom, you get the set together. Same deal with the Seraphim, as you can see right here. This is going to be from the sprue A, so it's not going to be duplicated. And it's got the power weapon. And then you're going to get 2 that are duplicated that are only different by the helmets. Then there's 3 different stem types, so you can have them at the different heights and kind of, make them a little bit more dynamic and cool looking. As far as the Repentias go, they actually have some pretty decent options. So only one of them is duplicated with a different head style. 2 are straight up the only pose, and then the Superior, Repentia Superior right here, is going to be a little bit bigger of a model because of course she's in the armor, but she's going to be a little bit more dynamic, so she's going to have some different arm swaps and things. I could see where the different arms left and right kind of halves just up here in the middle of nowhere might be a little difficult to glue together. And I'll tell you this already, I know there's an error on the sprue. So this piece right here that is 76, and this piece right here that is 79, these are actually both marked 79. So, well, if you're looking for an arm, it's going to be marked 79. And if you're looking for a head, it's also going to be marked 79. So don't think you're crazy. The sprue's just wrong. Moving on, then we got the Arcoflagellants. Again, 1 unique pose right here, and 2 are going to be duplicated. Not a super big deal. It totally makes sense. Keeps costs down, yada yada. The Penitent Engine, this looks very dynamic. I've never seen like, hey, you put this thing together and then you kind of lock it in and then flip it up and glue it on. That's kind of cool, all right. I can dig it, but it looks like there's a lot of joints and little assemblies here that are just going to kind of lock it into position. So you're not going to have a whole lot of options as far as that goes. But we know that the Penitent Engine that's coming out has at least 3 different options. I think one even has flails on it, so you'll be able to kind of mix it up, and there might actually be 4 different versions if you count this one and this pose right here. Nothing looks too crazy on these sprues, just kind of eyeballing it. So, and let's take a look at the sprues themselves, and I can show you where that error is. So here is the Canon S that comes in the box, and I've already showed you this back in September, I believe it was. It's a very, very easy to put together, but there's sandwiches. So you sandwich on her cape and then her backpack and things like that, and there's going to be a little bit of a mold line, so you're going to want to use some super thin glue. I actually prefer, and I used it on all these models right here, the Tamiya extra thin cement. But if you have a problem with gaps, you can always use the Vallejo plastic putty as well. And I'll put links in the comments below to both of those products right there, so you can check them out. So here she is, very well detailed. I mean, the face is kind of Emperor Palpatine, just a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it's very well detailed and very dynamic as far as, you know, all the different features and things right there. And then we got Sister Superior Novena. Now, she was the Warhammer Day exclusive, I think, back in June. And we put her together and got her on our really sweet base right here. So she is also a multi-part kit. This is available separately. It doesn't come in this box, but I just want to show you the two multi-part kits from this year as far as the sisters go. And now we're going to compare them to the existing miniatures that are coming in this box. So here is the other Sister Superior. And you can see she's deceptively dynamic. You can definitely see where everything kind of clasps together right there. I didn't quite use enough glue to kind of cover that up. It's easy to do. I was just in a little bit of a hurry, and you can see I left the mold lines on, so you can definitely have an idea of where everything is and where you're going to snip it off the sprue. The barrels are not drilled out, so maybe with the multi-part kits that will be the case. But they have a deceptive, dynamic kind of feel to the models. Now, where there's some very obvious areas of like no detail or little to none detail, it's still a very dynamic model. So take that, you know, how you want right there. She's got all her war gear and everything like that. It is what it is. It's just not this miniature that was $35. Like, they're literally different material. I mean, you can see it in this right here, which makes sense. As far as the Seraphim go, well, we assembled one of the double poses right there. So there's going to be another one that has a helmeted head, and I think it points this way. But you can see you're going to have to drill out your barrels, and you can definitely see where the mold lines are right there. They tried to hide them as best they could, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do, and you will have to do a little bit of scraping across the leading edge of the backpack, and make sure you use enough of the smaller, thinner plastic glue right there to kind of fill in the shoulders right there, because otherwise you're going to see that big gap. But again, deceptive, dynamic posing. And then this one doesn't have quite as much visible detail. That's kind of just plain, because, you know, her legs are kind of folded back and such like that. So very, very cool. And then this is actually the one model that this little flight stand actually glues to and doesn't seem to have a hard time attaching to it right there. But I would imagine it'd probably be better to use magnets at that point. And then here's the battle standard. So again, this model, you can see this. You can see the mold lines. You can see everything there. That's why we left them, just to show you. So going all up and down the banner right there. Oh, I forgot a backpack. Oops, I don't even know where that went. But anyways, moving on. Lots of detail to blend with the robe right here, and you can see where the split is as well. So just be careful of all of that. And then we also assembled one of the sisters Repentia, which looks a lot more dynamic and seems to have a little bit more going on detail wise, kind of a cross between a Death Cult assassin and the sister, redeeming themselves, just kind of running in with no armor. The back leg kind of fell off a little bit right there. There was a lot of flash to kind of trim down up in there, so just be really careful when you're using this glue that you catch, you know, something like that, because that's just a clean kind of break that, well, not really a break, I just messed up right there. But other than that, it's very dynamic and very, very cool looking. But, you know, you can do a lot of like cross hatching and things up here. But again, it's not as detailed as what we saw with the two individual sisters that came out. Now, the Arcoflagellants are on a 25 mil base, and these actually are on a 20 mil base. And if you want to play a really fun shell game, you can take all three of the bases, and they will all go inside of each other. The 28 millimeter base will fit in the 32, and the 25 will fit in the 28, and that's how you can sometimes, hopefully, keep them apart in your mind when you see them. Like, oh my gosh, I can't tell anymore what's the small base, what's the big base. But this Arcoflagellant is actually very deceptively I don't know what's going on with it. Like, you can switch out the head, and that's really cool, and it's got this different arm right here, as the other ones just kind of have more of the whip. But there's a lot going on with this model, and I think they are a little bit smaller, but they seem to be definitely jam-packed with detail right there. And last but certainly not least is the Penitent engine itself. This model, well, it goes together very well, but there's always a but, right? there's gonna be a lot of flash to trim down all around these areas of the legs, all around the arms. The flamer is actually kind of weird. And we've got our first cat hair of the day. Then across the flamethrowers here, because this is a separate piece. Now, I did notice that I broke off this little end right here. I didn't really hit it very hard at all, so be careful. This will catch some force and snap right off this little awning, kind of at the end of the rail right there. But not much posing capabilities or anything like that. And this is going to look a little kind of weird. You saw in the instructions where you kind of like lock the front into this, and then you put this front cowl over it, and it doesn't line up at first, but when you put the cowl over it, it lines up and it makes more sense. And I guess these are just like a little injection, like combat drugs or something, that somebody stands back here and just kind of pushes them in and freaks this little dude out, and he starts running at people. I don't know how it all works. I'm not a penitent engineologist, but on a 50 mil base, it's definitely an interesting kit. Here's how it sizes up to a Primaris. So kind of to be expected, but not exactly. I don't know. I don't expect this to be a $60 kit. We originally priced it at $60. I think that might be a little high. There's the standard, so obviously the ladies are a little bit smaller than a Primaris Marine, even in their power armor. But then with something like Poxbringer, Poxbringer is a little bit bigger on his resin base right there. And then you've got the normal lady, as you would expect. She is also about, smaller with power armor and things like that. As far as guardsmen go, well, they're pretty much the same size, which is, so a sister in armor is about the same size as a Kriegsman, which is probably going to be a little bit smaller than somebody like a Acadian or something like that, because the plastics tend to run a little bit bigger. And then the Primaris Marine, well, that definitely makes sense right there. So overall, the design, I think, is, I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, but it doesn't, it's not going to hold a lot of weight when you compare it next to the multi-part kits and the independent characters and things that came out earlier in the year, which is just to be expected, because, I mean, let's face it, this is kind of a bundle deal. This was $35 just for the model itself. It would kind of make sense, but they're in no means crappy or anything like that. I think they're just what you get, and they're going to be a little bit less quality-wise than the multi-part kits. And that's okay, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you get it for a little bit of a deal, and I think everybody's okay with that. So they definitely have a very surprising amount of detail and a very deceptive, dynamic aspect to them that I think will be very appealing to a lot of folks once they crack it open and actually get building on the models right here. I think the price point overall is pretty decent. Like I said, I made the comparisons to Shadowspear, and as far as everything you get in here and having enough to get it on the table and get ready to start playing, I think that makes sense as well. So I would expect the codex that comes out in January, February, March, I assume it's going to be February, to have more pictures of the units in there. But then again, at the end of the day, that black covered codex looks really neat, and it's very, very striking as well. So that is it for this one. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Overall, I think the miniatures are great. There's no real gotchas besides duplicate parts. And, at the end of the day, I think a lot of folks are going to be very happy with this box set. But if you can wait, well, perhaps you want to wait for the multi-part kits and maybe get the stuff that's a little bit more dynamic and detailed that come out. But chances are they'll be a little bit harder to assemble, whereas these easy to build, not quite push peg or push foot models are, at the end of the day, just a front and left, right half, maybe an arm here and there, a head, and a backpack. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unbox, build, and review of the Sisters of Battle Army box set for 2019. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.